Well, this is the third installation of the Courtney K inspired looks that I posted on Instagram a while back. So I'm going to start off with my moisturizer. This is the Lush moisturizer that I've been talking about. And when you have pimples and blemishes and scarring, make sure that you really moisturize those spots because then they tend to get flaky if you have a mattifying foundation. The foundation I'm using is Fit Me, and unfortunately the pump that I have for it doesn't reach that low. So I had to use this spatula, which I talked about in my previous video, to scoop out some product, and I'm so happy I did because I can probably get 5 more uses out of this foundation than I would have if I didn't have this spatula. And you can see I was like really getting into this. It was so fun for me. And then I just spread it all over my face because I didn't want to use my fingers if I didn't have to. So now I'm blending this out with my buffer brush. I was going to use a beauty blender, but mine were pretty dirty. And I really love these brushes anyways. They really pack on the color and the pigmentation. As you can see in my forehead, which always tends to kind of stay tan, I kind of just brush it and then kind of swipe away, but I always end up fixing that with bronzer or any kind of blush when it's a little too light or too dark. So with my highlighting pen from MAC, I'm putting that underneath my eyes. I typically don't use this as concealer for every day, but I thought with this look, why not? So I'm putting that underneath my eyes and then blending it out with a brush, and then also putting a powder on top. So you rub that all the way in your inner corners, and I normally don't do this, but I put that concealer type product on my lids to act as a primer, not necessarily to prime and stay all day because I wasn't going to wear this all day. So that's what I was doing. And then with the powder from Anastasia Beverly Hills, this is the color Banana. I'm using that to go underneath my eyes to make sure that it does stay, because that highlighting powder isn't meant to stay all day long. The powder is going to help it last longer than normally. With this deeper concealer, these are kind of like Studio Finish or I think it's Full Coverage Foundation formula from MAC. I'm using the deeper colors to add as my bronzer. In the picture, there's not a lot of bronzing in there, but for my face and my kind of complexion, I kind of needed something to bring more color back into my face. So I'm kind of scraping along that edges of my face. I shouldn't say scraping, blending along my face, a little bit on my nose just to bring more color in there and dimension in my nose, and just blending it out. Then I'm starting with my brows. The brows for some reason took forever, and I don't know why. So I started off with spiked eyeliner brow pencil from MAC, and I'm kind of using that at the very base and a little bit of the perimeters of the eyebrows. And then I'm going in with the powder from Anastasia Beverly Hills to kind of add dimension and texture and also some depth. This look was very warm and orangey, so I'm using Red Brick to use as my bridge color and transition color. A couple of clips were kind of not included because the camera died. But anyways, now I'm using Amber Lights. Amber Lights is a beautiful color, and you can kind of see that there were some auburn colors on the lid when her eyes were open, but there were no images of her eyes looking down. So a lot of these kind of looks I'm taking some liberties with. And then I'm going to take Costa Riche eyeliner by MAC and lining my inner waterline, extending the inner corner because her eyes are a little extended in the inner corner. Mine are a little more rounded. And then I'm also going to put that on my lash line so that I can kind of disguise the lash band and just add some more deepness into that lash line. And I'm using that same brush to kind of smudge out any of the eyeliner that kind of went further down on the waterline. But I will be adding some more color on the lower lash line in a sec. With the matte white beige eyeshadow, I'm using that on my brow bone. There's not a lot of shimmer on her brow bone, but I did feel like it needed some kind of completion, so I used a matte color on the brows. Now I'm very quickly going to curl my lashes and prepare them for my lashes, and then I'm going to add mascara. This is the regular formula mascara. Again, it doesn't hold the curl as amazing as the waterproof ones, but no need for that today. Now I'm using these House of Lashes. I think they're what are they? They're the curly ones, like Bambi and something mixed together. I can't remember. And I put that on my lashes. I used the Revlon lash glue, which is the best, stickiest, amazing glue. But as you can see here, I definitely didn't wait for this to dry at all. I was kind of annoyed at myself for not being patient enough, but I was just trying to do it all before my camera dies. There was a lot of blush on her cheek, and this is the BH Cosmetics blush palette, and I'm using the two pinkiest colors that they have. They're a little bit pale, and I'm bringing that on the forefront of my cheekbones when they pop out. So I could really only tell when I smile and make that little prude face. And I'm putting the blush there. Then I'm taking Amber Lights again and running that on my lower lash line with the brush. I realized later that I should have put an extra layer of mascara on my bottom lashes, which I didn't, but that's just something to always look out for is when it layers on top. Now I'm taking Sandstorm by NYX. This is their soft matte color, and I'm putting that on my lips. Her lips were extremely pale, and I realized that I don't really have anything. I mean, I could have used concealer, but I just was not feeling it. And then really fast, I remembered I don't have highlight. So I put some Jaclyn Hill Becca Cosmetics, what is it called? Champagne Pop all over my areas. Very specifically on her Cupid's bow, she always has a bright highlight, so that's kind of where I wanted to emphasize that highlight. And then as a gloss, I'm adding White Russian by Buxom on top to kind of pale down that color, and I still wasn't feeling it. It still wasn't light enough for me, so I wiped it off very quickly and then added on a soft matte lip by NYX. This is their ones that aren't really, they're a little bit creamier, and this one's pretty pale on me, and I thought this would work. Still, I felt like they were the same exact color, to be honest, from the one that I used before, but I also added the same gloss on top. Yeah, I guess I could have done something lighter, but it's just not my steez, so I didn't do it. But that's the finished look, and I felt kind of funny putting on a hat inside it in a video because I just never done that before. But that's the look, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Bye.